Hello, American Studies students. All right, so today I wanted to put together a video kind of talking about the next standards assessment. We're going to kind of break it apart one question at a time. Today we're only going to talk about question number one. It's going to be, how did the United States mobilize and change its economy in order to win World War II? Give examples of the changes that were made. So in essence, this question is asking you to kind of summarize about the second half of Section 1, Mobilizing for Defense, 17.1. So the biggest major idea that you should bring out of this section is that the United States changed its economy from a peacetime economy, and where we built peacetime goods, to a wartime economy where the same factories retooled and started making weapons of war. So this happened across our entire economy. For instance, the last automobile came off the assembly line in 1942, and that same assembly line then retooled and started cranking out tanks and aircraft, weeks following. So this was a huge shift, and it happened all across the country. When men were sent off to war, women joined the workforce in large numbers, and we kind of remember women working in industry as Rosie the Riveter. I sent you a video about that from YouTube. So this was a major benefit for women, because many women were not allowed to work in certain industries, and this was just another way that they gained some rights during World War II, and they helped the country build the weapons of war we needed. So to help oversee this major shift in what is being built, the War Production Board was put into effect, and they were the ones that made the choices about what companies would make what. A really good example is that the Singer Sewing Machine Company stopped making sewing machines, and they retooled and started making 1911 45 caliber pistols. If you could actually find one of those pistols today that has Singer Sewing Machine Company stamped on the side of it, they're very rare and they're very sought after by collectors. But that's just another example. The book gives several other examples of where like clothing makers made bug nets to keep our soldiers from getting malaria. Anyway, you can find more examples in the book. Our scientists were mobilized with the Office of Scientific Research and Development, the OSRD. Scientists were needed to invent bigger, better, faster, thicker armor, better guns, better aircraft. Whoever won the race for better equipment is going to win World War II for the most part. Give you an example. At the beginning of World War II, the P-40 Warhawk was our main plane, and it could fly about 300 miles per hour. And 4 years later, in 1945, the P-51 Mustang could fly about 425 to 30 miles per hour, and was much better, more maneuverable, was better in all regards. So, I mean, there was just a race to get better stuff. I think the biggest example from the OSRD, though, was the massive effort to build and manufacture an atomic bomb, something that no country had ever done before. We won the race, and we won the war in part because we dropped the bomb on Japan. The Office of Price Administration froze prices on goods that were deemed necessary for war. We couldn't see prices rise out of control just because the demand for certain goods were really high. This also led to rationing, which means that certain goods that were deemed necessary, like gasoline and other foodstuffs, were rations in such a way that you could only get a certain amount every month. I happen to have a war ration book with me. I'm going to hold it up here. It's one I picked up from a friend a while back. And inside this book, there would have been little stamps that you would rip out and give to the cashier when you buy something. And once you ran out of stamps, you couldn't buy any more of that for that month. So this caused people to, conserve and put in their own gardens so that they didn't have to use up all their ration stamps. The Department of the Treasury, they allowed people to buy war bonds that helped finance the war. War isn't free. In order to buy a fighter plane, the government has to purchase it from the factory. And what they did was people would buy a bond, and then they would get their money back after time with some interest attached. So this was another example. The last example I want to give you is that we couldn't have work stoppages during World War II. So the National Labor Relations Board was put into effect to kind of be an intermediary between business owners and workers so that they wouldn't have strikes. And if they had any problems, they could mediate those in a peaceful way to keep our manufacturing and factories open. So all of these things that I've talked about, you should probably think about putting in your answer, but these are the main ideas that I think we could pull out of Section 1, Chapter 17. Thanks for listening in. I hope this helped you with your planning for the next assessment.